welcome to the deep dive. Today we're really getting into something I think everyone struggles with, right? This feeling of being stuck, almost paralyzed, because you're constantly comparing yourself to others.
Yeah, that chronic comparison, it's huge. We've looked at some material that argues it's maybe the single biggest thing holding people back. Whether it's scrolling social media or just seeing what the neighbors are up to.
Absolutely. And that paralysis, that's what this deep dive is really about tackling.
Exactly. The mission here, based on these sources, is to, well, fundamentally change how you react when you see someone else's success or their luck or maybe the resources they have.
Okay.
We want to help you move from that place where comparison just stalls you out to a place where it actually pushes you forward. And the key idea from the sources is something called the let them theory.
Let them theory.
Yeah.
Okay, I like that. Let's unpack this then. So the material suggests a kind of roadmap, right? A structure.
Yeah, a three-step process, basically. First, we have to face, well, kind of an uncomfortable truth, something we might not want to admit.
Okay, what's that?
Then second, we need to get really clear on two different types of comparison. The sources call them torture versus teacher.
Torture versus teacher. Interesting.
Yeah. And finally, the third step is all about the practical side. How do you actually take that feeling, that jealousy or irritation, and flip it into action? Real, concrete action.
All right. So step one, the uncomfortable truth. What is it?
The sources are pretty blunt here. The first hurdle is you have to accept, truly accept, that life isn't fair.
Oof. Yeah, that's definitely uncomfortable.
It really is. But the argument is obsessing over how unfair it is, what advantages other people seem to have, whether it's their looks or timing or their family background, it just drains your motivation.
It becomes this self-fulfilling thing, right? You
Yeah.
focus so much on what you don't have that you end up, failing because you never actually use what you do have.
Exactly. And it's not trivial unfairness we're talking about sometimes. The sources give some really relatable and sometimes painful examples.
Yeah.
Well, think about starting life buried under student debt while, someone else's parents just buy them a house or an apartment. That's a huge difference.
Yeah, that's massive.
Or dealing with a serious illness like cancer or diabetes versus someone who just seems to have boundless energy and health without even trying.
Right. Or even smaller things, like maybe at work, you always seem to get the grunt work, the bad shifts, while your colleague gets the shiny projects. It feels unfair.
It is unfair, often. But the sources push back on the idea that acknowledging the unfairness means dwelling on it. There's this question, right? What if the unfairness is really severe, like a chronic illness? Saying, let them just feel dismissive.
Yeah, how do you reconcile that? Accepting unfairness isn't like flipping a switch, is it? It must be this constant negotiation, especially when you're really struggling.
Absolutely. The material acknowledges that it's hard. It's a difficult emotional reality. But the core assertion is that pouring energy into the unfairness itself is counterproductive. It doesn't change the situation.
So what's the alternative focus?
They use this analogy, the game of life. Think of it like cards. Everyone gets dealt a different hand. Some hands are, frankly, way better than others from the start.
Okay.
The big mistake, according to the sources, isn't noticing that the hands are different. The mistake is spending all your time and energy staring at their cards, getting angry about their ace, instead of figuring out how to play the hand you were dealt the best you possibly can.
So it's about shifting focus from their hand to yours.
Precisely. And here's a key twist in the analogy. You're playing with others, not necessarily against them.
Playing with them? How so?
Their success, their good cards, even their luck, it's all data. It can actually teach you how to be a better player yourself. That's how you improve your own game, how you win in your own terms.
So when someone seems to have all the luck or the resources or they're moving faster,
the mindset shift is let them. Seriously, let them have their luck. Let them have their head start. The energy you spend fighting that reality, wishing it were different, it's wasted energy. The sources even say it's kind of an insult to your own intelligence, your own ability to adapt and play your game.
Okay, that's a powerful reframe. Let them have their cards, focus on playing mine. But comparison itself, it feels so automatic, almost biological. Can we really stop it?
Probably not the impulse itself, and the sources agree the tendency to compare seems pretty hardwired. So the power isn't in stopping the comparison, it's in what you do with it.
Which brings us back to that distinction you mentioned earlier.
Exactly. Is this comparison going to be torture, or is it going to be a teacher? That's the crucial choice point.
Okay, let's break that down. Start with torture. What does that look like?
Comparison as torture, according to the material, is when you obsess over what they call fixed attributes. These are things about someone or yourself that you fundamentally cannot change no matter how much time or effort you put in.
Things like, give me some examples.
Yeah. Sure. Natural physical appearance, like someone's bone structure or inherent beauty, body type, height, metabolism, the person who seems to eat anything and stay slim.
Right. Things you're born with or into.
Exactly. Your parents, your family history, the country you were born in, or even those really specific kind of God-given talents like perfect pitch in music or some innate artistic genius or maybe a photographic memory, things you just have or don't have.
So how do you know if you're falling into that torture trap?
There's a really practical test suggested. Ask yourself this. Is there anything I can realistically do in the next, say, 30 seconds to change the specific thing I'm comparing?
Like the next 30 seconds.
Yeah. If the honest answer is no, then fixating on it is self-torture. It's useless for growth. It just makes you miserable. And you have to practice letting it go. Let them have it.
Okay. That 30-second rule is stark. It really clarifies things. There's an anecdote in the source material about this, isn't there? With sisters.
Yes, Sawyer and Kendall. Sawyer was just torturing herself because her sister, Kendall, had a different body type, a faster metabolism, and this amazing natural singing voice, perfect pitch.
And the painful part is, Sawyer was objectively right. It wasn't fair that Kendall had those advantages naturally.
Correct. But that's the trap of upward comparison on fixed traits. Research apparently shows that constantly measuring yourself against things you simply cannot attain actively damages your self-esteem. Sawyer could take singing lessons forever, diet constantly, exercise like mad.
And she was never going to naturally have Kendall's metabolism or perfect pitch. Trying to do, even the score was impossible because the score wasn't based on effort in that area.
Precisely. She needed to shift her focus to her own unique strengths and the things she could change or develop, which leads us to the other side.
To teacher.
Right. Comparison as a teacher, this is where it gets constructive. It's when you look at someone else's success in an area where you could potentially achieve something similar, given time, focus, and consistent effort.
So this is about changeable things.
Exactly. And the sources argue this covers like 95% of the things we typically want in life.
Wow, 95%. Like
things like your job or career path, your friend group, achieving financial freedom, finding a sense of purpose, developing healthier habits like eating better or exercising, writing that book you dream about, launching a business, getting into the best physical shape of your life. These are things built through action, not inherent traits.
Okay, so if I see someone who has built a successful business or run a marathon or saved enough to travel, that's different.
Totally different. According to this framework, if someone has achieved something you aspire to, something that is achievable through effort, they haven't beaten you to it. They haven't used up the supply of success.
So what have they done?
They've provided a formula, a roadmap. Their success is evidence that it's possible, and it often shows you the steps required. Their win isn't your loss because success in these areas isn't a limited pie. There's plenty to go around.
That feels much more empowering.
Yeah.
But what about that initial gut reaction, the irritation, the jealousy? It still pops up, even if you know intellectually it's a teacher situation.
Oh, absolutely. And the sources say we shouldn't ignore that feeling, that jealousy, that little pang of irritation. It's actually important data.
How so?
It's framed as an invitation, like a message from your future self, pointing directly at something you want, something that's possible for you. It highlights a gap between where you are and where you secretly desire to be.
Okay, that's a really interesting take on jealousy. There's a story about this too, right? An interior designer.
Yeah, Molly. She was apparently furious because this woman in her neighborhood, who seemingly came out of nowhere with no prior design background, suddenly starts this booming interior design business.
Blowing up on social media, professional website, getting clients.
Exactly. And Molly's first reaction was panic and anger. She's stealing my potential clients. How did she do this so fast? It's not fair.
Classic comparison reaction.
Textbook. But using the teacher lens, what was really happening? This neighbor wasn't a threat. She was a teacher. She was demonstrating the exact steps Molly needed to take but had been avoiding.
Like building a website, marketing yourself online. The consistent effort part?
Precisely. The neighbor was showing Molly the formula. And maybe the most irritating part for Molly, the real source of the anger, wasn't just the success itself. It was that the neighbor didn't seem to have any special unfair advantage.
Because that implies.
It implies If I can do this, you can too. And that's what made Molly angry. It wasn't really anger at the neighbor, it was anger at herself for not getting started sooner, for making excuses, for avoiding the necessary work.
Wow. So that anger is actually fuel. It's pointing back at you.
That's the argument. That anger can be the catalyst you need. It can galvanize you, force you to confront your own inaction, and finally make a change. It's uncomfortable, but potentially powerful.
Okay, so if anger or jealousy shows you the gap, and the other person's success shows you the formula, how do you actually bridge that gap? How do you turn the frustration into, like, productive inspiration?
This is where the theory shifts from let them accepting the fixed things to let me.
Let me.
Yeah. It's about saying, okay, I see it's possible. I see the blueprint they laid out. Now let me get to work. It's about taking that data, that evidence of achievability, and applying it to yourself.
So looking at the areas that comparison highlights, the ones that make you feel that twinge.
Comparison in this light just shows you where your life needs more attention, more focused effort. Closing that gap, achieving those changeable goals, it always comes down to the same things. Consistency, determination, and just being willing to do the work, putting in the reps.
Putting in the reps. I like that phrase. It sounds like effort. There's a quote mentioned from Tom Brady.
Yeah, it's a great one. He apparently said something like, the truth is, you don't have to be special. You just have to be what most people aren't. Consistent, determined, and willing to work for it.
That hits hard because it suggests the people we envy often aren't special.
Not necessarily. They just did the work. They put in those consistent, maybe boring, maybe difficult reps, while maybe we were busy complaining about unfairness or making excuses.
Can we define reps a bit more? What does that actually mean in practice? Is it like one giant push?
No, usually the opposite. The sources define reps as those small, consistent, often unglamorous actions that add up over time. It's not usually about one heroic 8-hour marathon session working on your business plan.
It's more like
dedicating 30 minutes to it every single day, even when you don't feel like it. It's not about a radical, unsustainable crash diet. It's about making the healthier choice for lunch, consistently, day after day. It's the boring stuff that actually builds the thing you want.
that resonates. The compound effect of small, consistent actions. There's a personal story in the material about this, right?
Yeah.
About a house renovation.
Yes, a very revealing one. The speaker talks about visiting a friend's newly renovated house. It was beautiful, exactly what she dreamed of, down to these specific queen-size bunk beds for the kids.
And her reaction wasn't just admiration.
No. Later that day, she admitted having a full-blown tantrum, blaming her husband, their finances, feeling completely overwhelmed with jealousy and frustration.
Okay, so torture comparison initially.
It started there, but when she applied the teacher lens later, she had a breakthrough. The anger wasn't truly about the house or the money or even her husband.
It was about.
It was profound anger at herself. She realized she'd given up on her own ambitions, her own earning potential. She had mentally outsourced the responsibility for creating the life she wanted, especially financially, to her husband. The friend's house just mirrored back her own abandoned goals.
Oh, that's a really deep level of self-honesty, taking responsibility.
Absolutely. The core message there is your life, your dreams, your desires, they're ultimately your responsibility. That intense jealousy, seen as a teacher, forced her to confront what she truly wanted and commit to making it happen herself.
Did she?
Yes. She started putting in the reps, focusing on her career, financial planning, taking ownership. It wasn't overnight. The source says it took something like 15 years. But she eventually achieved that goal, created that financial independence and the kind of home environment she'd envied.
So the jealousy wasn't just a negative feeling. It was actually like a long-term blueprint.
Exactly. A blueprint from her future self, showing her what was possible and what she needed to take responsibility for. Seeing her friend achieve it just made the possibility feel more real, more tangible.
Okay, this brings it all together nicely.
Yep.
So for someone listening right now feeling that paralysis of comparison, what are the immediate takeaways, the two main actions from this theory?
It really boils down to two complementary actions. First, let them. Consciously stop wasting your precious mental and emotional energy on things you absolutely cannot control. Their fixed attributes, their luck, their starting point. Let them have it. See their success only as proof that something is possible in the world.
Okay, let them.
Yeah.
Accept the unchangeable. And the
Wait,
second part.
Let me. Shift your focus entirely inward. Look at the cards you hold. Take the inspiration, the blueprint, the data you get from seeing what others have achieved in changeable areas and immediately translate that into your own action. Ask, okay, what's the first rep I can do? What's the next rep? And then do it consistently.
Let them, then let me. It's like clearing the noise to focus on your own signal.
Perfectly put. And the sources suggest that the more you practice this, the more mental space and emotional energy you free up. Energy that was previously just getting burned up by resentment, jealousy, procrastination.
And that freed up energy,
Yeah.
it's not just about achieving goals, is it?
hmm
The sources hint it connects to something else.
Yeah, there's a really powerful promise made that applying this theory, getting comparison working for you instead of against you, actually sets the stage for improving another critical area of life, your relationships.
Relationships, how so?
Friendships, family connections, even romantic love stories. The idea seems to be that when you're less consumed by envy and more focused on your own path and responsibilities, you show up differently in your interactions with others, more authentic, maybe less needy or competitive.
That makes intuitive sense. Less internal noise means more capacity for connection.
Exactly. And that leads to the final thought, the sort of provocative takeaway for listeners to consider.
Okay, leave us with something to chew on.
If you truly take ownership of what you want, if you accept the let them reality and commit to the let me work the consistent, sometimes boring reps, the promise is that you will eventually wake up one day and realize you're living a life that you might once have only been jealous of in others. And the suggestion is that the best relationships, the most meaningful connections, they often flourish right around the corner from that point, the point where you stop trying to control or resent others' journeys and fully embrace the work and the joy of